Good morning. Welcome to CSLDallas Science Mind class. I'm Dr. Petra, and we have fabulous new art from Kathy Cromer. As you've probably seen some of her art before, we have a piece upstairs here on campus. I've purchased a piece. Usually her stuff has nothing but hearts in it, but this stuff now starts to have flowers, and her colors are amazing, and there's a lot of depth to I love this art. It's so whimsical and colorful, and I definitely have a piece of it hanging in my house. And Kathy will be here the last Sunday of the month. She'll be here the last Sunday so that you can talk to her, but of course all the art is also for sale, but it's really cool to look at. So I'm wearing a mask today because I was told yesterday afternoon by a staff member and a key volunteer that they both came down with COVID, and I had a number of meetings with them throughout the week. And so I don't want to be an unwitting carrier. Please, please, please do be careful if you're around people or if you feel like you're coming down with it. Be thoughtful for yourself and for others. We've had a lot of people over the last, 2-3 months sick with COVID here at CSLDallas. And so it's nice to know that we're all taking care of ourselves, but also being respectful of each other and thoughtful about that. So that's why I'm wearing a mask. I trust that there's no problem in you hearing me, those of you online and those of you here in the room. Just sharing the love, not the germs. That is the point. Okay, I hope you have coffee this morning. Oh my God. So we're on page 90, what are we on? Page 93. We've started this section on law, and we looked at the first paragraph that has a whole boatload of words and a whole boatload of different ideas. And this concept that the science of mind that Ernest Holmes has labeled soul actually includes a number of different aspects of the functioning of this infinite reality. And of course, one of the most significant philosophical, scientific and religious questions is, how did all this get to be here? How did creation, how did this happen? What in the world is going on? And so if we postulate, which we have done, in the first chapter, the last chapter, we were talking about spirit. If we postulate that there is a creative energy, that there is a place where creation is initiated, the question is, well, how does that impulse, that creative impulse, that love that is seeking to express itself, how does it then become atoms and trees and stars and air and water? What's the process that something intangible becomes tangible? And every religion, every science and philosophy, right? They're all aspects of struggling with this question, looking for answers to this question. And so soul is a very large category that captures a whole boatload of pieces that answer the question, how does the great I am become individualized I ams? How does the creator become the created? What is that creative process? What is the mechanism or the operation or the function or how does this all work? And so soul is a very small word that captures a whole boatload of things. So we talked briefly last week about the law of cause and effect as the primary fundamental explanation or description of how an idea becomes manifested. A spiritual impulse or an intention becomes a form or something in matter, right? It does it in a lawful manner. And so the lawful, orderly manner is that what is created is always an effect of that initial cause. There's a direct correspondence, a direct correlation, and if we can explore the effect, we can postulate the cause. If we can examine the cause, we can extrapolate what the effect will be, because it is an orderly process, right? And that's when we talk about the nature of the universe as order. It's specifically this aspect of the creative process that is being illuminated. So, and we talked last week about the intelligence that is evidenced in this. Not a being with intelligence, but that there is some, that we ascribe, and we talked about it, entelechy, the knowingness that an acorn has to become an oak tree. An acorn doesn't become a maple tree. An acorn doesn't become a giraffe. An acorn becomes an oak tree. And there is an entelechy within it, an inherent, innate, we use the word intelligence to become what is the pattern or the impulse, that initial seed to grow into whatever it is that is the correlating effect, our outcome. So we are going to start on the top of page 93, and you just have to kind of hold on to your hats here a little bit. And these are the kinds of things, when we start just talking about it, I always think of it, if you could just look at it out of the corner of your eye. Just kind of, don't try to, just kind of look at it out of the corner of your eye and let something move or be revealed. It's a little bit easier than I'm going to analyze this and try to figure out what in the world he's talking about. Let us bear in mind that neither spirit nor soul of the universe were ever created. Each is eternal. So basically, right, we're remembering over and over again, we are not talking about something that happened in the beginning. In the beginning, there was God, and then God created the law, and then the law created creation, right? We're talking about an eternal, infinite reality that always was and always will be, right? The Alpha and the Omega, always, always. And so therefore, these are descriptions of the nature of reality. It's not a prescription of how things came to be at a particular moment in time. So they're eternal. Okay, because this impartial, impersonal soul is the medium through which spirit works. You know what? We're gonna skip this little part, because this is all about especially in the East, this idea that this world is an illusion. We also have it in the West, in the Western philosophy, Plato and Plotinus, and especially the Neoplatonists, really believed that as above, so below, that the so below is merely a reflection, and therefore an illusion, actually not real. What is real only is the causal reality. Science of mind does not subscribe to this understanding. You will never, anywhere in the science of mind, see an implication that this is an illusion, or that this is somehow a reflection and therefore not meaningful, or therefore something that has to be transcended and gotten over. No, when we talk about body, we're going to talk about what this actually is, but it's not an illusion. So that's where that idea comes from, because it is a mirror of the mind. This effect out here is, in fact, mirroring the cause. That's how the law works, the law of cause and effect. So that's all we're going to say about that right now. We're going to get back to that when we talk about body. Okay. Good. So now we're going to leap into one of the many, many, many terms that are inside the word soul. And we're going to start continue unpacking what soul includes. So we know that it includes the law of cause and effect. That soul references that aspect of the one. Another thing it references is this thing called, termed subjective mind. And so, okay, so subjective mind. Let's talk about what universal subjective mind is, universal subjectivity. And so he doesn't do a very good job explaining it right here. What we're trying to get at right here is that subjective mind, your subjective mind, my subjective mind, and universal subjective mind is all the same mind. There's actually no separation. This is where one of the places where we discover and experience the tangible, what do I want to say? This is one of the places where oneness is so explicitly critical. We have a tendency to apply that oneness to spirit. There's something true about that. But over and over and over again, the science of mind reminds us that it is on the subjective side of life that there is oneness. And this universal subjectivity is something that we all share. So, what in the world does all that mean? Okay, first of all, we have to unpack the word subjective. I think we mentioned this last week or the week before, but we will say it again. The way science of mind uses the word subjective is not the way that you use it in English grammar, and it is not the way that you use it in psychology. I'm having my subjective experience of an objective world, right? This is not what is meant by this term. He uses the term subjective to recognize that this is the aspect of the creative process that is subject to the impulse, subject to the impress, subject to spirit's movement in consciousness, which the law must now manifest in form. Universal subjectivity. And that this law, this universal reality that is receiving the impress, is everywhere present. There's no place where it's not functioning, not operating. So we're gonna stretch the analogy here just a little bit, but the best analogy that I can come up with is the quantum field. The quantum field is everywhere. We're all part of the quantum field. We're all operating in the quantum field. Physicality is the product of the quantum field. And in different places, in different ways, the quantum field, the wave, is being particularized into individual particles, which is the seed, or which is the beginning then of the form that those particles are a part of. And those particles are forever moving into form and out of form back into the quantum fields, called particularization. In the science of mind, we call it individualization. That we are individualizing from this subjective field. We are individualizing in our own lives, whereas the universe is creating at the universal macrocosmic level, we're individualizing it in our own lives, but it's the same field. So if I'm constantly this is what I do when I read this, like, what does that mean? How can I try, so I have to sometimes translate what I think is being said into words that we use today. So today, we are all about the field of consciousness, the morphogenetic field, the quantum field, as a way of trying to get a hold of. And so he uses the term here, subjective mind, and we're already instantly caught in whatever we know about the brain, the mind, psychology. Oh, it's an individual, it's a mind, right? And so our ability sometimes to really grasp it gets limited because of the term that's being used. Now, there's a reason why mind is being used, which we'll get back to further on in the chapter. So one of the things you have to be patient about in this work here is this incremental building of an idea to ultimately coming to a place where the wholeness of it makes sense. If we take an idea and we try to leap too fast into some implication or some application of it, we may not understand exactly what we're doing. And so this is why we study metaphysics, because we're incrementally building an understanding of our particular map of the nature of reality. All right? So we have to be patient, and we want to really try to understand each of the layers of this idea, so that when we get to the end, our brain goes, oh. And then when our intuition says, I know that what I'm manifesting next is la la la, whatever it is, our brain doesn't go, wait, you're going to do what? Right? So this is a way of really giving our brain food so that it stops getting in the way of our spiritual experiences and our manifestations. So we're just going to be patient with this process. Sometimes it's much more clear if you read Thomas Troward's work. Although, if you don't like old Germanic long sentences, you could be challenged. But, I mean, you want to talk about patiently, minusculely layering idea upon idea upon idea until all of a sudden the whole thing makes so much sense. Thomas Troward is your man. Okay, so there is no such thing as your subjective mind and my subjective mind, and they're not isolated because it's all one field. And of course, this is the answer to all psychic phenomena, right? Why is there telekinesis? Because we're all in one field. Why is there telepathy? Well, because we're all in one field. Why is there clairvoyance? Why is there any of these things, right? So in the original Science of Mind that Ernest Holmes wrote in 1926, there's a massive chapter on exactly this. And he just goes through all the clairaudience and clairvoyance and this and this and this and this. And the answer is, well, of course, because we're all in one mind. Of course, because we're all in one mind. But all of that was taken out of the 1938 edition, which we use, because we are really interested in the application of this in our own lives and the mystical experience of oneness and our deep understanding of the nature of reality. And so he was concerned that people were getting a little bit too engaged in, well, let's really engaged in the psychic aspects of it. Nothing wrong with them, just like there's nothing wrong with, money and sex and good food and beautiful sunsets, but all of it's phenomena, and it's not the experience of the oneness. So the answer to are all of these things real is of course, because we are in the same field. And Rupert Sheldrake calls it the morphogenetic field from the biological point of view, but it's the same thing. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious. That field that is the repository. Edgar Cayce called it the Akashic records, basically all pointing to what's being pointed to here. That there is a field in which we are operating. And so we're using that same field when we ourselves are living our own lives. And our own intentions are using the same field that the infinite is using. Yeah. And you just have to stop and think about that. And that's always true. It's like this is why the rain falls on the just and the unjust. This is why the sun shines on everybody. It's completely impersonal, totally automatic, has no opinion. Doesn't say, wait, well, what about this, this, and this that you did in your life? What about what you did yesterday? What about who you think you are? What about? It's just a field. And it's the exact same field that the universe is using, right? And this is one of the reasons why we say we are made in the image and likeness of it, not it made in our image and likeness. Okay, this is why we called it individualized. Behind and within the, here, this is the bottom of the second to last paragraph. It is impossible to plumb the depths of the individual mind because it is not really individual but individualized. Now, the idea that you are an individualized expression of the one is something that I recommend that you go away and meditate on for 6 months. What does that mean? How do I experience that? Individualized expression of the one as opposed to an individual. It is an extraordinarily valuable piece of spiritual work. And to just keep allowing that idea to work you, to bring you to a deeper and deeper and deeper experience of oneness. And then you won't need to have your relationship with God because you will know the truth that you are already it, only individualized, which means experiencing a smaller aspect. We do not run the universe, I am so happy to say. That's the bigger job. That's the macrocosmic job, right? But we are reenacting that, and we are doing that in our own lives. Okay, so we're going to stop there. Whew, man. You gotta patiently, build. Like, what is he talking about? Okay, I'm going to stop talking now, Ryan. I'm turning to you.
All right. Well, good morning, Dr. Petra, and good morning, everybody here in the room and all across the globe, online, wherever you're at. We're glad that you're in community with us. And I guess this is the interaction portion of the event, right?
That's
okay.
Right.
Now that your minds have been melted, we want to open them up and see what oozes out. There's a couple ways to do that. For the folks, I have my rock star Patrick here and the iconic Richard here. I got to announce them, of course. But there are a couple ways that we can engage. For the folks here in the room, just go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone over to you. And for the folks here online via Zoom, you can hit the raise your hand icon located down below, and I'll bring you into the room as well. And for the many folks who are joining us all over the world on Facebook Live, feel free to drop a comment or question in the chat, and I can bring that into the room as well. Just heads up, for any of the comments in the chat, I keep those anonymous so we can continue to have a safe container for spiritual growth. So we're going to come here into the room first. If you want to go ahead and just say your name and ask your question.
Good morning. This is Julia.
Good morning.
And it's good to be here. Good to be alive. And I tell you what.
Pardon me. It's a new side joke.
It's all good.
It's all good. But listening to your explanation, this is something that I've come to understand about having to take the time to really, even if it's just one paragraph, that's really, each paragraph, there's so much to it. And I was just having a group meeting this past week, and we were going over the 4 steps of in the part of the affirmative prayer. And as I was looking at it, and I says, and this is what we agreed upon, that this is so important to take it apart and really, that's how you embody it.
Yes.
You just can't read through it, and because I've been wondering that a while, and this is finally, after 5 years, I come to understand how important it is to really take it apart,
Yes.
to take your time and
Yes.
really, how does that apply to me? What am I supposed to do? What are my footsteps that I have to follow to get to that end? And it's just awesome.
Beautiful.
The difference is like day and night.
I love that. Thank you, Julia. Well, and by doing that, what we recognize is that by engaging in that, the very things we're engaging in it, it's not an intellectual exercise. It's actually working us. It's working us deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's all about embodiment, right? You're so right. And for those of you who are not here and able to take maybe classes with us, we do have, I have a, if I may say so myself, a fabulous course on spiritual mind treatment in our e-courses. It's called Manifestation and Mysticism. So you want to take it apart and go deeper and deeper into spiritual mind treatment in this same way. Really embody it. I would recommend you go to our e-course page on our website and then look for Manifestation and Mysticism, because I'm super pleased with the course. Huge shout out to Ryan for helping to make it happen. And you're so right that there's because it works us. The point isn't that we're intellectually working the ideas. The point is by doing that, it works us. Yeah, I love that. All right, we have another comment here in the room.
This is Ross, a couple of things.
Hi, Ross.
I'm so grateful for coffee this morning.
Yeah.
This
Right?
is overly dense.
It is. It
Oh
is.
my God.
It's true.
It's like it went. I've had a number of things that were overly dense. This is the top of the top in terms of denseness. Second thing, I'm so happy that we're here now. We're not in some illusion,
Yes.
or this is a reflection of something else. As I've seen that, it's worse than a waste of time to think that, well, this is something else is really going on. This is a computer simulation or something, because all of our consequences are here.
Yes.
Here's where we feel things. Here's where we experience things.
And here's where we express the very truth of our being.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So we are really going to dive into that when we get to the next chapter on body. And I will tell you that it is truthfully one of the things that speaks to me the most about science of mind, is that the created universe is part of the whole, not something separate over here. So thank you, Ross.
Excellent.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we have a comment online.
Yeah, it asks, how do you blend the practical and mystical aspects of science of mind? It seems that balance is key. Something is missed and you go for it in either direction.
That could not be a more true statement. There are so many people who decide that science of mind is all about manifestation, and they miss the whole mystical aspect about it, right? And then there are others who are so fully enamored with the oneness and the mystical aspect of spirit that they miss the manifestation piece. And I want to again remind us, this is not a prescription. This is not how you should live your life. This is a description of how you are currently living your life and have been and will be. This is a description of of the nature of reality. Just as you get a description of how your body functions. And when you eat certain things or you do certain things, it has this impact, right? And so these are just descriptions. If you want it to be different, then you get a prescription. You get something to do about it. And I've become completely enamored by a new set of words that I'm certain have always been in the science of mind, but I have only read them in the last year. And I've been reading this material for a very long time. And so Ernest Holmes talks about this exact thing, the mysticism and the application, the love and the law, principle and presence. He calls it the dual unity. The dual unity. What we want to do is either live in the duality, or we are so enamored by the oneness and the unity that we can't allow it to be moved, to be understood in its aspects. And Both are required. And I will tell you, this is why I'm so happy with this course, Manifestation and Mysticism. Oh, sorry, thank you. Manifestation and Mysticism, because this is what I work on in this course, is the absolute marriage of the two. And how when we're living in both of those arenas at the same time, how much more full and rich our life experience is, and the wholeness of the expression of our spiritual truth. And so I love that comment. And it is hard to a certain extent because I think sometimes of how we are sort of natively designed. Some of us tend to be more interested in the practical, in the application. Others of us tend to be more drawn to the mystical and the spiritual. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a part of our sort of the way in which we are showing up here in this particular time and place. But what we want to do is remember that it's not an either or. It is a both and. And it is, oh, Ryan keeps reminding me to fix my thing here. I will stop moving. I will now sit here like this.
Good job, Petra. Good job.
I will not move anymore. Don't be so expressive. Thank you, Ryan. It always keeps me out of trouble. And so this, I mean, I swear to God, I'm sure those words have been in this book for 40 years. This year is the year that those words, dual unity, all of a sudden leaped off the page at me. And I went, oh my God, that's the paradox. That's the paradox. And ultimately, to me, also, it's the dance, it's the play. It's the play of mysticism and manifestation. It's the play of the oneness and the particularization of our lives, right? And that's where the play is, and the joy and the expression and the experience of life. Yeah, super cool. All right, so we have a comment out here in the room. Okay.
Hi,
Hi.
this is JL.
So happy to see you.
Happy to see you. So I may answer my own question while I'm talking this
Good.
through.
We love that part.
Coming from Christianity, right? The duality portion of it is a struggle. And it seems like you can without the separation, you can become something as self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
How do you veer away from being self-absorbed, understanding, and I get the connection, that we're all connected, and that we all play a part in the oneness, but when you take away, because I felt like the Bible gave us more of a service, be of service to, translation of worship to God. And then this kind of takes you to get to know yourself a little bit more, get to know your inner person, connect with yourself, and how do you stop being self-absorbed and actually connect the two, if that makes sense?
It makes so much sense. I'm giving you an A+ and a gold star for asking that question. I love it. And this is, quite frankly, one of the biggest criticisms that has been leveled at New Thought since the inception of New Thought back, well, actually, Ralph Waldo Emerson's second wife wrote a scathing denouncement of his philosophy because she believed it was so self-absorbed. And it is a criticism that has been leveled at New Thought because we have, okay, so let me arrange the responses maybe in some order. First of all, New Thought, to a certain extent, considers itself a reform or correction for Christianity. Because in many ways, New Thought has considered itself Christian or really following the teachings. And the recognition of that the Father, when you see me, you see the Father, and the kingdom of heaven is within, and greater works than these will you do also, that was taken seriously as a way of an antidote to a duality of a somewhat a capricious God or judging God and a less than humanity. So to overcome the duality of that, and the Romantic poets really started it. Well, it goes all the way back to Greek philosophy as well. There's the recognition of the spark of divinity within all of creation, but especially within humanity. And so the elevation of that, it's kind of like the pendulum has to swing, right? Because, and if anybody's read Charles Dickens and Bleak House and things like that, part of what he was doing was a complete critique of people being so busy building their mansion in heaven, doing good works to be favored by God, that their own children were neglected, right? It's a huge theme in his work, and it was a huge critique of the way Christianity was being understood. That service became martyrdom, and it was all about what I'm going to get in heaven. By God, I'm going to get my goodies. But to do that, I have to so be in service that I don't have any goodies here, and I'm literally neglecting my children and my family. So that the pendulum of service swung so far in a certain understanding of Christianity that New Thought was the pendulum swinging it back. But wait, no. Jesus' teaching was really about the value of the individual, and that we are actually co-creators. And so the beginning of New Thought was all about, well, what can I experience? What can I create? What can I have? Rather than waiting till some mythical time in the future when I'll actually get all my goodies. If this is actually part of the reality of the one, well, no, the goodies should be here. I should be experiencing them here. And what we have, and New Thought and Science of Mind, we're less than 100 years old, well, barely over, Unity was in the 1860s, 1880s, so we're just passing our 100-year mark. And as you know, religions and spiritualities and philosophies, they mature, and they have deeper thinkers, and then there's a new impetus. And so the recognition that we can't be just about ourselves has been emerging in New Thought and in the Science of Mind in particular in the last 20, 25 years. So we articulate it in our global vision. And for me, I have, over the last 30 or 40 years, articulated it that I understand that if we are individualized expressions of the one, we're the place where the one is being expressed, individualized. So our job isn't just to experience, it is also to contribute the very gift that we came here to be, just as the flower contributes to the garden by being its beautiful self, right? Only we are responsible for engaging in that. But again, it's a dual unity. It's not to swing the pendulum all the way back, that it's only always about expression or about contribution or what we're giving to others, to the neglect of ourselves. But it cannot be any longer just about our own experience to the neglect of others. This has been what I have seen since I've started in the Science of Mind. This has been the maturing of our philosophy and the way in which we're taking it up. And so I believe that part of being an individualized expression is that we are called to give our gift, be of service, contribute, but to do that in the way that is native to us. This is a beautiful contribution. This art is an incredible contribution to life. whether you're raising a child or building a business or inventing something or standing in a soup kitchen giving people food or creating a not-for-profit or building a business sustainably that's making a difference, right? Every one of those things is a contribution that is individuated. I think the other piece of it is a recognition that our contributions are individuated. It's not purely, I'm going to be in service to the poor, or I'm going to be in service to those that are less fortunate than I am. That is a way of service, but there's lots of ways to contribute. I could be a teacher, I could be all kinds of things, a mentor. My job could have nothing to do with my contribution. I could be a clerk, and yet I'm mentoring people in their spiritual growth, or I'm mentoring a child into their greatness, or I'm working with CASA and I'm an advocate. You know what I mean? Do you see what I mean? So that's not related to our jobs. It might be if we're fortunate enough, but that's my answer to that question. And it's so important. We have been obsessed. At CSL, we've been obsessed with this question now for 20, 25 years. I've been hugely involved in it. And not everybody is ready to make that shift. It's always never an either or. That's the mistake. And when it's an either or, you get the pendulum swinging because it constantly has to be corrected. When we can understand that the paradox is the both and, the pendulum doesn't have to keep swinging, right? That's maturity. That's the next level. That's what we are growing into, I firmly believe. I hope that helps answer your question, JL. Thank you for letting me get on my soapbox. Okay, Ryan.
Yes, and I know that we're coming close here to the
Right.
end, but before we do, it's a good segue to just let people know that on February 6th, you can go dive a little bit further with Dr. Peacher on the Old Testament,
Yes.
where we'll be unraveling a lot of this stuff. For the folks online, I'll be putting the link in the chat, and I'm magically putting that into your brain here in the room. So
That would be, go to the website, click
Go-
on February 6th, sign up, or go to the education page.
It's gonna meet here in this room.
No, probably on the other side. We'll probably be in the STEM room.
yeah, but
and
it
we'll
is
be
both online and in person. So feel
in
free to
person
join
and
us either way.
online. Yes, absolutely.
All right, I'm going to ask Brenda to go ahead and unmute herself. Do you want to join us, Brenda, and say your question or answer?
Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Dr. Petra. What a great segue for the Old Testament class, because this is a question I have you on. So in Inward Journey, I'm reading The Wisdom of Not Knowing, Discovering a Life of Wonder by Embracing Uncertainty. And there are two things that caught my eye in this. One is a retranslation of Exodus 3:14. Instead of God saying to Moses, I am that I am, the Aramaic translation from the Kabbalists say, I am becoming as I am becoming. So my question involves then with, is science of mind what would be considered a process theology? And I'm going to quote from the book. Instead of seeing God as perfect and unchanging, process theologians see God as slowly evolving as we evolve. God is relational, interacting with the universe that is continually evolving. God's goodness and wisdom may remain eternal, but God's manifestations change over time in concert with a changing, hence uncertain universe.
And it's that last sentence that is so critical, right? So the answer to that is yes, despite, doesn't matter. The answer to that, in my opinion, is yes. And again, process theology tends to primacy the becoming. Absolutism primacies the being. But what did we say earlier today? It's a dual unity. Being and becoming are two sides of the coin. You can't have being without becoming, and you can't have becoming without being. So This is why we absolutely recognize the eternality and the immortality of the individual's soul forever and ever expanding. Because as the infinite has become individualized, that individualization now has infinity to express and experience. And by doing so, it is in fact expanding the infinite, while theoretically that's impossible, because the infinite is already infinite. But that's so we don't want to, again, we don't want to say it's only process theology or it's only absolutism. Right? The truth is it's both. Being is forever becoming, and that becoming is then evolving over time, more and more and more expression of being that has never been expressed before in whole new ways, which by definition expands the infinite in an extraordinary way. So the one is, in fact, expanding. So, yeah, so that's how I understand it. And that's why it's so powerful to do this deep thinking and this deep work. And so I really appreciate you bringing that forward, Brenda. Thank you so much. All right, I think we're coming to the end of our time together. It is so much fun to dive into this stuff. Thank you so much for your comments and questions. It makes it rich and beautiful. Please continue reading in this section. We'll finish this little paragraph on law, this little section. We'll go on to whatever's next, and we'll continue to expand our minds and open our brains and do all that good work. All right, so what else? Is there anything else we want to say, Ryan? Anything else we want to talk about? Oh, I do have something else to talk about. Sorry. Let me ask you and then answer my own question. So this afternoon, we have our new member orientation. So whether you're online exclusively, no matter where you are in the world, we would love for you to say that you belong here to CSL Dallas. If you're in the room and you are not yet a member, the same goes for you. If you are local and you are not yet a member, CSL Dallas loves to have you say, this is where I belong, this is my spiritual home. So we do have a new member orientation this afternoon at noon, from noon to 2. There will be, for those of us in town, there will be a light lunch. For those of you online, just, bring your lunch to the table. And then we have our new member ritual on the 18th, on the day we have our annual meeting. So we would love for you to say, I want to be a part of this at the next level, and you can find out a little bit more about that. So please do come be part of the new member orientation this afternoon. That was the thing I wanted to say. Did you put a link in there, Ryan? I know you did.
Yes, I did. I put a link in there.
He's so good. All right. So thanks so much. Bye for now.
All right.